Happy Thursday, pros. I see us live now in the Housecall Pros Facebook group. And welcome to all of you joining us on Zoom. This is Pro Power Hours, something we do every Thursday at this time at 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern. We've been doing this for a little over a year. It's a product training webinar that you can attend weekly. Encourage you, if you're somebody new here, you're seeing this for the first time, maybe you just heard about it, encourage you to get registered. If you're watching on Facebook, once you're registered for all the sessions. You'll be able to join us on Zoom every Thursday. We've got a Help Center help article. It's got all of our past sessions and recordings, and we've covered almost every nook and cranny of Housecall Pro at this point. So you can go back, you can watch all of those old videos, especially if you're someone new, it's really valuable. Or if maybe you're training new staff, it's a great way for them to learn the platform easily in addition to your onboarding. We do this every week with Phil. Phil's one of our onboarding specialists. We're grateful to have him here. And we're going to be talking about Profit Rhino today. If anybody has any questions on Facebook, please feel free to drop them. I'll be able to see that. If you're here on Zoom, of course, you can drop them in the chat. I'll drop that Help Center resource with all of our recordings. Phil, I'll turn it over to you and we can get started.
All right, sounds good. Hello, everybody. Welcome. If this is your first time, if you are a returning visitor, welcome back. Today we're going to go over the Profit Rhino add-on. This is something I have been uploading the Profit Rhino price book for our pros, honestly, for probably at least 3 years now. So I'm almost Mr. Profit Rhino over here. Really going to focus on today. There's not really a whole lot in depth that goes to the Profit Rhino book. I'm just going to kind of explain all the little moving pieces and just kind of show what it is and what's available to it. We're not going to spend a lot of time going through page by page to like see what is exactly in it because as we're going to explain, it is constantly making updates. So something that may be in there this week may not be there next week. And that's one of the common questions that I typically get when I do Profit Rhino onboardings is people want to ask me like, does it have this appliance? Does it have this piece? Honestly, I can't tell you because I don't have a list of everything that's in the book in front of me. So again, today we're really just going to focus on the overall functionality of it, what is available to it, and also with my experience with using our Profit Rhino and talking to pros just like yourselves, is talking a little bit about the difference of Profit Rhino itself versus the Profit Rhino price book in Housecall Pro. And for if we have some time, or I'm sure we will have plenty of time, I'll kind of talk a little bit, even though I'm pretty much about to do exactly what an onboarding is going to look like, still kind of lay out kind of the trail of what that's going to look like should you be interested in getting this addition to your account. So as usual, I'll go ahead and play a little bit of a slide deck here for you with a little bit of information explaining just kind of overall how everything works. And then I'll do a little demo of how the book looks, how it works, how we move through it. And then we'll have some time for some Q&A. So let's dive into it. So again, just want to stress at first, we're going to talk about the Profit Rhino price book with Housecall Pro. So with that, really what is Profit Rhino? People ask me this sometimes if they get booked to me and haven't really gone through a demo, but Profit Rhino is a company through Callahan and Roach, and they have basically put together a price book that is more geared towards people that do flat rate business, and it's mostly for people within the industries of HVAC, plumbing, drain cleaning, and electrical. I've had some people come through that may not use flat rate. We'll kind of talk a little bit about that. Maybe you just kind of want the prices for the materials. But again, we will talk a little bit more in depth on that a little later. But essentially what the Profit Rhino price book is with Housecall Pro is it is a fully created price book that's all set up and ready to go for you. Really, there's two pieces of information when you go through onboarding with us to set up your Profit Rhino price book is really your labor rates and your material markups. But as we can see, just a couple of other things in here. It's, as it says, it's a pre-built price book, imports into Housecall Pro as flat rate services and materials. It has access to one or all of the industries for $149 a month. So just kind of want to step aside and talk a little bit about this because this is, I think, one of our best selling points. If you are a company that has experience with Profit Rhino, or maybe this is your first time hearing about Profit Rhino, certainly, the Profit Rhino product itself is its own product. It has its own specific features. It has a little bit more of a expanded price book if you go through them. But if we're going to start talking about numbers with Profit Rhino itself, last time I checked, and I'm pretty sure it hasn't changed, it's $55 per month per user. Whereas with us, as we laid out right here, you can get all the books you want for $149 a month for as many users as you need. So when I talk to a lot of my Max Plus pros that have 25, 30 people that under in the company, they tend to like this because you're saving more money. Um, as I mentioned, I'm one of the onboarding reps for Profit Rhino. So when you do get Profit Rhino with Housecall Pro, you do get myself or somebody else on my team where we sit down and we go through your numbers and try to set you up for success with this price book that is already pre-built for you. And then the last bullet point here, it does say quarterly updates to keep pricing accurate. Unfortunately, last I heard that has changed. It is not quarterly. It's kind of with the instability of prices these days. It's a little bit more randomized, but it is still somewhat quarterly. Um, but again, just because of the instability of prices, Profit Rhino has been trying to keep up to date with the prices, and I'll kind of explain a little bit of how that's all going to work. So let's talk about why it's valuable. Really, when I talk to pros, kind of I hit them with the positives and the negatives of our books, or of the Profit Rhino book in itself. So one of them, so for some positives about it, industry standard services and materials are included. We get all these prices for these materials and service, not really the services, but more of the materials. We get all of those prices from the manufacturers and base that upon a national average. We're going to see is how that relates to your business and your pricing when we go through the demo, when we start plugging in a couple of numbers. What it also does is it saves time because, again, book is already pre-made for you. It has descriptions, task codes, already has a title. Sometimes it already even has a picture. So you just save time with your pricing because it's already there and done for you. As we mentioned, regular updates to the book happen so we can keep up to date with the national averages of these particular services and materials. Reduces that manual work so that we're not really having to punch things in, or if you're new to the system, not having to build out your price book from scratch. It's basically all put together for you. You just got to put in those two moving parts that I talked about. And boosting confidence when pricing jobs, because as I've met with a lot of people over time, they have said, like, I want to be, I want to be competitive within my market, but I don't want to overcharge. I don't want to undercharge. And I've seen people on all sides of the spectrum that when they come to Profit Rhino, they realize, oh, dang, I probably should have been charging a little bit more. Or some of them are like, holy smokes, I am charging way too much. So it really does help with your pricing. Now, how the updates work. So first off, it's fully managed inside Housecall Pro. You do have an ability to switch from automatic updates to basically full customization. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we dive into the demo. Content updates are released quarterly. I'm a little skeptical of or on demand right there because I think that could mislead people to thinking that they can just reach out and ask for a new updated version. That is not how that works. It just, whenever the updates do happen, you do get an email letting you know that the updates have happened, and it will also tell you what services and materials have been removed and which ones haven't. Um, Updates adjust those material costs and add any additional parts and services that we may have not been in the book before, or remove any of the ones that are tending to phase out with most companies. And the updates are optional. So, like as I mentioned, we're going to see is how you can switch the toggle to either you can keep letting Profit Rhino go ahead and make the updates for you, or you can take more control of your own price book. just with Profit Rhino included with it. So a couple of things to know. Obviously, picking industry books during onboarding, I've had some people, a lot of people come to me and they know exactly what book they want. I've talked to a lot of general contractors where they want all of the books. Now, all of the books are included in the 149 a month. So I tend to tell people when I onboard them, I'm always like, are you sure you just want the electrical book? Because you can get the plumbing book too if you want with no additional charge. Um, you can delete categories you don't use. I typically don't advise that, just really because if you lose it, there's really not a way to get it back. So that's something else I will talk about. Profit Rhino managed versus Pro managed. That is what I was talking about with the little switch. So if you keep it Profit Rhino managed, that is where we can have those automatic updates. Switch it over to Pro managed. Now we're taking control of the book and putting in our own information. You can restore defaults at any time. That's really just kind of wanting to go back to the originals pricing within Profit Rhino. Really for that, it's just getting rid of your labor rates and going back to your material markups. Or sometimes what I've seen some people do is that they will reach out to us, have the book deleted, and then re-uploaded. Really, in that particular instance, I'm going to say it's whatever you want to do. Couple of other things to know. Customers can only see the final price, not the breakdown, which I will show as we go through the demo. Installing pricing requires the custom setup. Profit Rhino data is not exportable, so that is a good call out. I've had people ask me, well, I want to bring the Profit Rhino price book over to the new system because I'm not happy with Housecall Pro. Sorry, buddy, that's not going to happen. Um, you can really only export your own price book from Housecall Pro and make imports into Housecall Pro from other sources, but not necessarily Profit Rhino. Again, stressing that 149 a month covers all industries, gets you as many books as you need for as many users as you have. And missing brands and services can be requested. You can always reach out to us. We do have, excuse me, a meeting with Profit Rhino once a month to go over any feedback, any updates that really people are asking about so that we can provide you what it is you in particularly want. So let's go ahead and I'm going to give you all just kind of how onboarding looks when we do this. So I'm going to switch over to my dummy account over here. And just to go through our steps is if we go into our price book, you are going to see that there are the main industries. Now, this is the dummy account, and so I always get people asking me, well, I want the automotive book. We don't have an automotive Profit Rhino book. We have HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and miscellaneous, and inside plumbing there is drain cleaning. So really, these are the big four right here. Um, I'm just gonna go into heating and go into the HVAC book. I feel like most people that have come over that I've done onboarding with typically do HVAC, but really there is kind of no difference here. I'll jump into each industry so we can just kind of see what that looks like. But the point I'm trying to make here is that when you go into your price book, you will see is that you still have access to your own price book. So you won't lose anything that you've created before in the past, and you will always have access to add more materials to your own price book in the future. You will just simply have this separate category for Profit Rhino itself. Now, when we go into there, it's going to be broken up into many different categories. Some of it is based by appliance, some of it is based by material, some of it is based by location in the building, some of it is based by manufacturer. It's broken up in many different ways, so it's very detailed. So yeah, just kind of going through all that. So let's start with something simple, just a blower motor installation. So if we're going to go into blower motors, we can see that it breaks down into even more subcategories depending on what it is we need to do. And if we go down one more level, that's where we can start to see our services. Now, when we click on a service, as I mentioned, the service name will already be there for you. There's also going to be a description, a task code, already has a picture. And down below here is where we can find the prices of the materials, again, that we get from the manufacturers and base that upon a national average. So really the only information that I mentioned we're going to need from people when we do these onboardings is your hourly rate and what markups you have on your materials, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. Over here, just want to show that in the price book, as we mentioned, you will see the breakdown of the labor and the materials. Your customers will never see any of that information except that price at the end of the day. Now, one thing I always tell everybody is that if I were to take this blower motor installation and I stick it onto an estimate or an invoice within Housecall Pro, we have here that it's listed at $556, but at the estimate or at the invoice level, you do have the ability to remove the price that is there and put in something you find more reasonable at that time. So maybe you bought a more expensive blower motor, or you're a company that uses a particular brand. You can always remove the price from the estimate or invoice level and put in a new price for your customer. Speaking of that customization, as we talked about earlier, switching over from Profit Rhino managed to Pro managed, there is the button right up there. So if we go ahead and hit that button, it's going to just confirm that that is what we want to do. And we are going to lose any of the future updates that come from Profit Rhino because now we are saying we are going to manage the book. Um, I don't want to do this on the dummy account, but I just want to show that it is doable. And also what includes with that is just like your normal price book, you will have the ability to make changes to all of this information that is there, including the amount of time. The amount of time does come from the manufacturers and bases that also upon a national average. So again, that's why I always stress is that if you want to keep up-to-date information, really just make the changes to your pricing at the invoice and estimate level. But really, that is the book in a nutshell, is really just showing exactly what is included with it, how it works. I'll just kind of I know we've got a lot of people from different industries, so I just kind of want to show is, that's what the heating and AC one looks like. If we went into electrical, kind of the same ordeal. You get your own categories from your own price book, and we can go into the Profit Rhino price book, which has, again, its own categories already pre-made for you. So lots of good stuff in here, like, setting up home theaters, data security centers, those new doorbells. If we go into plumbing, we'll see that there's one book specifically for plumbing, and there's one book specifically for drain cleaning. And when we go into those, again, it breaks that down. So if we're looking for water heaters, utilities, um, really, again, very very detailed on different categories that are involved within each of these industries. So let's back up. Um, Miscellaneous, I'm not going to go too much into miscellaneous. I get the question all the time is what is included with the miscellaneous book. Really, from my experience has been a lot of these like little dispatching fees, labor and parts fees, diagnostic fees. There's this grid matrix, which I still don't necessarily understand myself, but the people that use the grid matrix, whenever they see this, they get super excited about it. But there is a couple of these fees available in there in the miscellaneous book for you. So that's again just kind of the book in the nutshell. Let's take a look at how the moving pieces that we put in. So with those moving pieces, it starts with our labor rates. So within our labor rates, you can have, if you're accustomed to our price book, you know that you do flat rate, that you can have as many labor rates as you want. So let me talk about this. The Profit Rhino price book only reflects one labor rate. So I've had people come to me and they say, well, we have a lead technician rate, we have an apprentice labor rate, we have an after hours rate. I typically tell people is you could technically put all three of those labor rates in here, but the issue you're going to run into is when you're ready to do that pricing, you need to tell the system to reflect that particular pricing. And so I understand that that can be kind of a hassle. People can forget, things like that. So that's why I always stress if you're going to make changes to pricing, do it at the invoice or estimate level. Another suggestion that I give everybody is as we're looking at this, we have our default rate at $180 an hour, but our standard rate is 240. If 240 is our highest one, I would just go with that. Like, yes, your pricing might be a little bit higher, but is that necessarily a bad thing that we're asking for a little bit more money? It's a little bit debatable because we don't want to price ourselves out, but I always recommend that if you don't want to do a median, sometimes people will find like a median number between their highest and their lowest offering. But why would you just not offer at the highest? And if, a customer says, "Hey, that's too high," now you can start having a little bit of wiggle room to haggle, negotiate, however you want to do it. Now, the other thing is the material markups. Now, this one, this one looks like it's been modified a little bit, but typically what we do is when you do get the book, you get outfitted with the material markups that are already pretty industry standard. People ask me, well, how do these material markups work? And that is, where it's basically saying is that any of the materials that are between a penny and 50 cents, or I'm sorry, $50, we're going to mark it up 200% to make 66% profit on that. And anything between 50 bucks and 100 bucks, we're going to mark it up 100. Now, again, this isn't what we default everybody with, so I would not say that this is industry standard, but if we do need to make any adjustments, we can always hit the edit button, put in the markups that we use, and then that way the book will start to reflect that. So if we want to get that more accurate pricing, you want to really get in here and go through these material markups as well as make sure your labor rate is correct, because then that way the book is pretty much good to go. But if you start to have a lot of crazy and different markups and a lot of different labor rates, this may not be the best for you, or you're going to be really taking advantage of just making changes on the estimate or on the invoice. Another thing that I want to bring up is that with Profit Rhino, there are material price books as well. So because we have that list of all those materials, I mentioned some people that don't do flat rate just kind of want to use the book because they have the material parts in them. And those materials do have their pricing. So if we're going into, air distribution here, going to maybe like duct work, here's here's flex per foot. So that way, if you want to use just the materials, you can always certainly do that. Now, one thing I'll also demo, just to kind of give us some more information here, is people have come to me in the past and they'll say, "Hey, I've seen that Profit Rhino. How do I go about giving those three options?" When I hear that, that means that you were looking at Profit Rhino itself, and because Profit Rhino itself sets it up to do something very similar to what is our sales proposal tool, which is where you can take specific services and say, like, here's one price for your standard, here's one price for your economy, and here's one price for your deluxe. You can do that in Housecall Pro. I know we've done sessions in the past on estimate options, but that's basically what you're doing in here. So we'll do a little demo on how to do that as well. So if we're going to go and build an estimate, all right, so we have our estimate. Here is our option number one. So this is the one that we are currently building out. You do have the ability to click on the services, just like I've mentioned in the past in our previous sessions on how to build estimates and invoices, but we can specifically type something out. So let's go back to our blower motor. I don't know why it's taking such a little bit of a delay here. There we go. So there, it's as I started to type out blower motor, we can start to see some of the options that are pulling from the price book. So we'll go ahead and take this one. And also like to point out is that if we are going to add another service, you can always go to your service price book button right over here. That will go ahead and open it up so you can go through it page by page, just like I showed you during our demo of just simply looking at things. There is a search bar up here. I've had some people say that they've had issues trying to find specific items within the Profit Rhino price book. There is just reiterating, we do have a search bar up here that allows you to start typing things out, just like we did on the estimate. And we can find those services simply by using the search bar. All right, so just kind of again going back to our example of how to build that sales proposal tool with Profit Rhino to get essentially that Profit Rhino experience. We do have our one option here. I'm going to go ahead and add another option. So let's say I'm actually going to rename this and we'll say this is our good. We'll add an option. We'll call this one better. And I'm just going to add a service through here. Let's do maybe this one. And then we'll add a third option. That is going to be our best option. And again, we'll just go ahead and add a service here. I know we were doing blower motors, but just for sake of time here, I'm just gonna go and click on where this generator. Okay, so now essentially we have our three options just like that you would build out in Profit Rhino. And when you're ready to present it to your customer for estimates, there is a present button in the mobile app. But when we click on it here in the website, it's going to give you that preview of what it's going to look like when we are putting stuff putting stuff on the mobile app. And as we go into view the option, we can see there that there's the picture. For some of these options, when it comes to building the options, you do see that it says add an image so that way you can put in a little bit of a customized image. Maybe it's the particular blower motor that you all use, that kind of thing. But this is essentially how you build out that good, better, best, or those three options that Profit Rhino offers. That way your customer can go ahead, view those options, and go ahead and select which one that they want to do. So that's one of my tips and tricks there. One other tip and trick that I'm going to show you all that I show everybody when I do onboarding is how to kind of start to take things from Profit Rhino and make it a little bit more your own. You can do the pro manage thing, but again, I'm pretty against that just because I would prefer to have the updates coming from Profit Rhino, but I understand what I'm going to show you does take a little bit of manual work. And what I mean by that is that if we go back to our price book and let's use a water heater example. Electric standard. Okay, so here's just a generic standard water heater right here. Maybe you use a particular brand, or maybe you want to make a couple of adjustments to this, but you don't want to lose the updates from Profit Rhino. So what I typically tell people to do is that you can open up your price book in a separate tab. All right, now we have our price book in our separate tab. We're going to go into plumbing and we're going to go into our own services. And what you can honestly do is you can just copy and paste all of this information from the Profit Rhino book and stick it into your own book. And then that way you can start to put in your own pricing. You can put in your own materials. And so I just find that that's a little bit more useful because then again, we do get those updates from Profit Rhino, but I understand when those updates come in, you do have to do a little bit of manual work to update your own pricing. So that's another tip and trick that I show everybody that some people utilize, some people don't. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Typically, when I do these onboardings, I show the book, how it works, how we move through it. We talked about our moving pieces. We talked about how to build an estimate using items from the Profit Rhino price book. And I talked about how to kind of mold this a little bit more towards your own pricing. So I'd love to see some questions in the comments if you have any. We did have a couple that were pre-prepared. So I will go over those to answer those first. We got first question from Ed. I recently added the Profit Rhino price book to my account, finding the best way to take advantage of this information, specifically when building an estimate for a customer. It's not clear to me what services I should be adding to the estimate. For example, when searching like exterior outlet installation, I got a few options that don't make sense based on what I was looking for. Um, so Ed, I'm gonna unfortunately say that's more of a content question that I can't necessarily answer, but really the advantage of using Profit Rhino in the Profit Rhino price book in Housecall Pro is kind of the things that we laid out in the slideshow. It's a pre-built price book. It may not have everything you want in there. I've definitely had people show up to onboarding and they realize that this book is not a good fit because it's missing specific pieces. It's not really it doesn't necessarily have every manufacturer in there. It does it more on a generic basis, which is kind of why I said that you can always add your own items, either within your own price book, or if you want to switch that over to Pro Managed. So really, I'm trying to think of the best way to like kind of answer this is really to take advantage of it is really just saving time by having this book already pre-made for you. That's like the biggest advantage of the Profit Rhino price book and the fact that all of that pricing is already in there. So I know that may not have fully answered your question, but it sounds like you might need to speak with somebody from our Profit Rhino team if there's something in particular you're trying to see so that we can get that feedback and bring that to Profit Rhino at our next meeting. Got a question here from, I'm assuming this is a Chris, but so I installed Profit Rhino. Some of what I'm assuming it's supposed to say I like some of what I see, but of course I went to water heaters where I'm assuming that's supposed to say charge more. My question is, have you changed some of these questionable prices with this service? Okay. So as I mentioned, we do get these prices of the materials from the manufacturers and base that upon a national average. So that is why, again, I kind of stress is that if you do use your own materials or your own brands, is to either switch over to Pro Managed or put those item or copy and paste those items into your own price book. Um, that way you can increase your prices. As you said, you tend to charge more on your water heaters. And also, as I mentioned, the little shortcut of if you just want to keep the Profit Rhino book as is, when you do stick it onto the estimate or the invoice, you do have the ability to remove the price that is there and charge a little bit more if you're using a more expensive water heater. Um, from the same person, I ordered Profit Rhino, but don't know where to find it in the software. Do I have to download? So the answer is no. If you ordered Profit Rhino and you cannot find it in your price book, most likely it's because it hasn't been uploaded yet. So you are probably pending a meeting with us for onboarding. But as I showed, if it has been uploaded, it really shouldn't be hard to find when you go into any one of the industries that you have the book for. It's going to be its own separate category. If you don't see it up here at the top, most likely it's somewhere down here at the bottom. And a question from Bree. How much is Profit Rhino and is it worth it? Profit Rhino, as we mentioned, is $149 a month for everybody in the company to use it. Is it worth it? That's a pretty loaded question, Bree. I need to know a little bit more about your business. I think it's worth it for, again, if you are a new business and want to kind of just get a price book that is good to go and set to go. It's very advantageous for that. It's also very advantageous so that you can keep track of pricing and keep it accurate. Um, but again, as I kind of laid out before, there is some negatives to the book, but it again really just depends on your business and how you run it. So for that, if you have some questions of whether that is if it's a good fit for you, you can either reach out to my team to get an onboarding, but more than likely you'll have a success advisor or somebody from sales reach out to you that can give you a little bit of a demo and kind of analyze whether your business is the right fit for Profit Rhino. And so those are the only ones we had. Let's see some of these that are in the chat. All right, I see. Is there a trial period on Profit Rhino? Um, I am not on the sales side. From my side, I have always been told that you sign up for Profit Rhino, like you're paying for it. It's almost like going to the restaurant. If I'm buying a steak and I eat a quarter of it, they're not giving the rest of it to me for free. Um, However, I have started to hear from some of the sales team is that they will offer or prorate some of the Profit Rhino for you. But again, that's not my expertise. That's not my field. So if you are interested, certainly feel free to reach out to us. There's no harm in action in reaching out to seeing if we can do something for you or if we're offering any type of promo or anything like that. But all in all, it's always been 149 a month for everyone to use it. Um, Next question. Can you create an estimate or invoice using services from both Profit Rhino Pricebook and your own Pricebook? Absolutely. You absolutely can. Really, as I mentioned, you still have access to your own Pricebook. Profit Rhino is just its own category. So you can pull items from that as well. Um, I don't really see any other questions, and we ran out of the prepared ones. I guess I'll pass it back over to Chris for a little bit and see if any other questions come in.
I'm just checking Facebook. I don't see any questions, but I see we got a few people. So, y'all, final chance. If there's any questions about today's session about Profit Rhino, anything we can answer, I'll give you guys a minute. Want to encourage you. I say this every week. We have office hours on Fridays. It's a great way to talk to other pros. Phil just answered a great question. Somebody asking, is Profit Rhino worth it? Come to office hours, talk to other pros that might be using it. And obviously, you can talk about anything else. It's a great way to get peer support. And of course, myself and Lauren and Matthew Smith are there every week to help you with anything Housecall Pro related. Um, Otherwise, I don't think I have any other big announcements right now. If you are a new pro, you're onboarding right now, you're within your first 30 days, I want to invite you. We've got an exclusive webinar for you tomorrow. It's 30 minutes with myself, Chris Nordenson, and two super pros. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the value of the community, how to just get some best support. You'll get some great tips from Tyler and Franklin, who are going to be joining us. It's a great way to meet some new people if you're starting your journey. Don't do it alone. Don't do business alone. Otherwise, new employee and need onboarding. Sean, yeah, Sean, you're welcome to join us. Really encourage you to come. I'll send you the link right now. Let me grab that for you. And if anybody's interested in office hours, I can get you the link for that as well. Here we go. Yeah, so there's our link for the webinar tomorrow. And then I'll drop our office hours join link as well. So
I'm sure you're getting to it, but next week
yeah.
we're going to be going over another important add-on feature is the voice over IP system. So if you are a business that is wants to learn about the phone system, it's another one that I do onboardings for. So looking forward to sharing with you all how to set that up and the value of it.
Yeah, looking forward to that. We just posted our full schedule through October. It's on our help center, and I said I would drop that link as well. So let me get that too. Uh, Another important thing about onboarding, we will be doing some new onboarding sessions. We've got some recordings from last year. Uh, Very crash course. It's hard to do everything in an hour, but Phil and our team did a good job last year of giving you the surface level. So encourage you to share that. If you're a new employee, that'll be useful for you as well. That'll be towards the end of the month. And here we go. Here is that recording library. That here. Right. Well, cool. Well, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Phil, thanks again as always. And I'll see some of you tomorrow and catch everybody else next week.
Sounds good. See you then.
Take care.
Bye.